Today on NewsWatch, a question of health. Will Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump give answers to American voters following Clinton's weekend collapse? Plus, a pastor tackles tough questions about homosexuality and the gospel. Hear what he has to say about taking a stand for truth in the battle over gay marriage. And Ring the Bell for Freedom will show you the amazing story behind this restored bell and why it's now headed to Washington. And thank you for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm Ephraim Graham. We may soon learn more about the medical records of Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. Both campaigns say they'll release more information following increased scrutiny over Clinton's health after she collapsed while leaving a 9/11 event early. Clinton is also under fire for comments about Trump supporters being, quote, deplorable. Heather Sells has more.
Millions of Americans have now seen this video. It shows Hillary Clinton falling after an early exit from the 9/11 memorial ceremony on Sunday.
Doing great.
After that health scare, her campaign has revealed a pneumonia diagnosis that Clinton apparently received last Friday. Clinton told CNN Monday night that she didn't disclose the news sooner because she didn't think it was going to be that big a deal. But it quickly turned into a very big deal, raising questions about a lack of transparency. Even Democratic allies like former Obama advisor David Axelrod are criticizing the campaign, tweeting about an unhealthy penchant for privacy. With even Clinton critics wondering if there's more to her health problems, the campaign has promised to release more medical records this week. And Donald Trump told ABC he will release more of his medical history as well. But the Trump campaign's laser focus right now is on comments Clinton made Friday night about Trump's supporters.
You could put half of Trump's supporters into what I call the basket of deplorables. Right? The racist, sexist, homophobic, xenophobic, Islamophobic, you name it.
Trump now has a TV ad denouncing that comment, and he's playing it up on the campaign trail.
She divides people into baskets as though they were objects, not human beings. Carpenters and welders, the young and the old, and millions of working class families who just want a better future.
At a North Carolina rally, he invited his supporters to offer their own replies to her as well.
Do I look deplorable?
No.
What? I am a wife, a mother. I work full time.
As the race tightens, Clinton's health issues and deplorable comments are not what she needs. But what may prove even more important for Clinton and Trump, the first presidential debate, set to take place in just 2 weeks. Heather Sells, CBN News.
The NCAA is refusing to play its championship basketball games in North Carolina. It is the latest move to boycott the state for its bathroom law. The law requires people to use restrooms according to their biological sex. The NCAA calls it a violation of basic human rights. 7 games will be pulled from North Carolina, and some observers say there may be more attempts to isolate the state. The White House says the president will veto a bill that would allow victims of the 9/11 terror attacks to sue Saudi Arabia. The Obama administration suggested he would not sign the bill when the Senate first passed it back in May. Press Secretary Josh Earnest says the bill is not an effective, forceful way for us to respond to terrorism. Lawmakers are expected to try and override the veto. If successful, it would mark the first time for the Obama administration. A Paris judge has charged 3 women with terrorism. Investigators believe the women are part of an ISIS female commando unit. They were allegedly planning deadly terror attacks in France and were linked to an abandoned car full of explosives near the Notre Dame Cathedral. Meanwhile, authorities arrested a 15-year-old boy who is suspected of plotting a knife attack against civilians in the streets of Paris. An arsonist set a Florida mosque on fire during the Muslim holiday Eid al-Adha. It comes during one of the religion's most important times of the year and just days after the anniversary of 9/11. The fire was at the same mosque where the Orlando nightclub gunman used to worship. Officials suspect the arson attack was a hate crime. Meanwhile, New York City officials celebrated the Muslim holiday at a prayer service, and the city's public schools were closed to honor the Islamic holy day. Americans experienced devastating floods this summer, but they were not the only ones. Some people in China also lost their homes and even their livelihood. CBN teams brought aid in the U.S., but also a half a world away to flood victims in China. Meng Fai Li has this story.
Heavy rains caused disastrous flooding only 2 hours away from China's capital city. 12 villages near Xingtai were destroyed. Local farmers felt hopeless and heartbroken.
We just built the new farmhouse before the flooding. I can't believe it's all gone. Right now we have to sleep at different places. All of my farmland has been washed away.
Water and electricity have been cut off at schools, and children are forced to study outside their classrooms. Parents are desperate for help and comfort. In the midst of these challenges, CBN China, in partnership with Xingtai Church, brought hope and love to the city. 11 people traveled to 4 villages, delivering food and tools to over 100 affected families. The families expressed happiness and relief as they lined up to receive the food and the tools they will use to rebuild their houses. They praised CBN's effort and dedication.
I can't believe what CBN brought to us. I'm very surprised to see all the trucks are full of food and stuff to help us. Thank you, CBN. Thank you.
In addition, the CBN China team will partner with other local churches to develop a long-term plan. They're introducing the Chinese flood victims to Jesus Christ and helping them to restart their lives. Meng Fei Li for CBN News.
VidAngel is fighting back in court after Disney sued to shut the company down. VidAngel is a service that provides users with movies filtered for explicit content. In documents filed Monday night, the company calls Disney a bully. VidAngel argues Disney and other studios are trying to sabotage their business by forcing them to get permission to offer a filtering service. But according to U.S. law, VidAngel does not need consent to filter content. Still to come, a pastor's approach how to stay true to the Bible and still reach homosexuals with the gospel of grace. Democratic vice presidential nominee Tim Kaine says he believes the Roman Catholic Church will eventually drop its opposition to same-sex marriage. Kaine is a Catholic, and he made his prediction while speaking with the gay activist group, the Human Rights Campaign. He noted Pope Francis said he would not judge gay priests, and Kaine said God declared in Genesis that mankind was very good. But he failed to mention that when God said that, humanity only consisted of Adam and Eve, and they had not yet sinned. For churches that choose to follow the Bible, these are complicated times. The question, how to reach gays and lesbians with the good news of Jesus Christ while navigating through the issue of gay marriage. Our George Thomas sat down with his pastor to get his take on the topic.
If you had a same-sex couple walk into your church and say they would like to get married, what would your response be?
I would say, I want to talk to you at length about this. It's worth more than a soundbite. And then I would share with them how I respect their conscience and how God is shaping them. But I also ask them to respect my conscience. And my conscience would not allow me, because of my view of the Bible, to officiate this marriage.
You would decline?
Oh, I certainly decline, without doubt.
Do you consider homosexuality as a sin?
I consider, I think the Bible is categorical on it, that homosexual acts are unequivocally sin. But I want to add to that, so is premarital sex, so is pornography, so is fetishes, so you name it. And the list is gigantic. So yes, it's a sin, but to isolate it out of a larger Christian sexual ethic, to me, is unfair to having a civil discussion about it.
How do you, in that scenario that you've described, how do you then help the church better understand, better articulate what our faith says about the issue of homosexuality to the public?
I would encourage them first to exhale.
Meaning?
Homosexuality has been around in every generation and in every culture. So this is not a new phenomenon. Exhale. We don't have to defend God. The biggest part, George, is the attitude of the heart of the church. Do we love sinners? Do we love them? And if they're homosexual or not, do we love them?
When you first began in the ministry, did you deal with these kinds of issues?
Nope. Never discussed. And when it was discussed, it was done in an unkind way. You have jokes. And you know, I pastored a long time. There are men that are effeminate, that are living celibate lives or are living heterosexual lives. And they have been bullied and pillared since they were in junior high. And that ain't right.
How have you advised your leadership on tackling this issue?
Right. The best statistics I've heard is that about 2 to 3% of an average population would confess the same-sex attraction. And so our church, that would mean we'd have 100, 200, 300 people that are coming to Sunday service. The vast majority of it not confess this same-sex feeling to anybody. Would you want to share your struggle with a pastor that's condemning, that's angry, that would be shocked? You see, until somebody can confess their sin without embarrassment or laughter, they're never going to share it with you. And if we're going to be missional in a postmodern world, we have got to exhale, process our philosophy of ministry, and see this as a divine opportunity. To me, I think it's been a wake-up call. Because the church needs to, I think, reevaluate how we approach all sinners. Come out of the ivory tower. How do you have a relevant gospel where you're still prophetic that right is right and wrong is wrong, and yet you're pastoral and say, I love you unconditionally, even without change?
And you can see much more of our interview with Pastor Dan Backens at our website. It is on a special page called cbnnews.com/Christian View. Up next, at a time when 5 slaves weren't allowed to gather together, this black pioneer preached to 500. See how his legacy is being carried on to this very day. The historic bell from First Baptist Church in Williamsburg, Virginia, is heading to Washington, D.C. It was removed from the church tower with a crane Monday. Now it will ring during the opening ceremony of the National Museum of African American History and Culture later this month. The bell is an important part of history coming from a church that was secretly started by a slave. Today it has an important legacy, bringing black and white Americans together to ring a church bell for freedom. Earlier this year, I traveled to Williamsburg to learn more about the church and its founder.
The man who started First Baptist Church is found at a tavern, of all places. They're popular meeting spots in Williamsburg, Virginia's state capital in 1776. The man is named Gowan and works at the King's Arms Tavern. And although a slave, he's one of America's first ordained black ministers.
He hears the patriots talking, Patrick Henry, Thomas Jefferson, George Washington, and many others. They're passing things like the Virginia Declaration of Rights, which includes a free exercise of religion clause.
In 1776, it was illegal for more than 5 slaves to gather together without permission from their slave masters. So First Baptist Church began in secrecy, somewhere in these woods.
The white society saw religious meetings of slaves as threatening, as inspirational toward rebelling or attempting to loosen the bonds of slavery.
Gowan's name first appears in the historical record in 1779, but not in a positive sense. The Virginia Gazette prints an ad accusing him of stealing a horse, a hanging offense. Fortunately, he is never charged, and over the next few years, His congregation grows to more than 200 members. 1793 proves to be a watershed year for Gowan, despite accusations of involvement in a multi-state slave rebellion plot. He gains membership for his church in the mostly white Dover Baptist Association and is freed from slavery as shown in this deed. It is the first time we see the surname he chose for himself, Pamphlet.
Why do you think he chose Pamphlet?
That's been a subject of intense interest, as you might imagine. We don't find anyone else, white or black, named Pamphlet. I happened to run across a compilation of pamphlets from the 18th century that had to do with every subject imaginable. And it occurred to me, did he adopt that name because he knew of the effectiveness of pamphlets circulating on various topics?
Sweet Jesus. Pamphlet's now 500-member congregation meets in a wooded area called Raccoon Chase on the outskirts of Williamsburg. Then, around 1805, a white neighbor hears their worship and offers them the use of his carriage house in downtown Williamsburg. Gowan Pamphlet dies within 2 years.
His legacy is determination to keep this church alive, to bring it the respect it deserved, and to persevere in the face of all kinds of adversity.
He was determined that his church wasn't going to exist in the shadows. It was
right.
going to.
It was going to be in the open.
Some 50 years later, First Baptist dedicates their first church building on the same property. Within a short time, they acquired their bell. 100 years later, in 1956, they moved to their present building, but the bell is not installed properly and soon becomes inoperable.
Let freedom reign.
Although the bell remained silent throughout the civil rights era, the church does not. They host activists like Martin Luther King Jr. and Rosa Parks. This year, to celebrate the church's 240th anniversary, the Colonial Williamsburg Foundation takes on the task of restoring the 500-pound bell. In light of heightened racial conflict in places like Ferguson, Missouri, and Baltimore, Maryland, a nationwide campaign begins called Let Freedom Ring Challenge, inviting Americans of all races to register to ring the bell for freedom throughout the month of February.
I will ring the bell for hope.
For justice for immigrants.
For the little boys and little girls whose brown skin is made to make them feel less than.
That brings us to today's celebration.
And so we come to ring the bell, to drive out the spirits of division and those practices that are causing us to forget that we are one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The first to ring the bell are a family who knows a lot about racial reconciliation. Descendants of Thomas Jefferson by two women, his wife, Martha, and her half-sister, slave Sally Hemings.
It was just a powerful moment. You know, you could feel the spirit move inside with so much hope and energy in the building, you know.
When you cross that line, that's where the good stuff happens. You really find out what other people feel and think. You walk in their shoes, and you see that it's better together than apart.
People black and white came together and found common ground, and that's the great challenge. How do we move from racial battleground to economic common ground to moral higher ground?
We meet with the pastor 2 days later, amid a steady stream of bell ringers. How did things go here from a broken bell, as we hear it now, in a small church?
Yes.
To this nationwide cause that we're seeing?
Yes. Well, the idea just began to surface that we can repair this bell looking at the backdrop of our nation. Let's encourage a new start. You had the birth of the nation, you had the slaves, let's merge that together because we want one America. And so the idea came to repair the bell, commit ourselves
to the principles and the values that made this nation great.
With that thought in mind, Pastor Davis rang the bell Monday with his family.
I made a connection with the past, and I also made a commitment to myself that I'm gonna do all I can to make sure that those who suffered, bled, and died, that the work that they have done to get us to where we are now would not be in vain.
As for me, I ring the bell for my 97-year-old grandmother and my ancestors who made my life possible. Ephraim Graham, CBN News, Williamsburg, Virginia. Only fitting that bell will now ring in our nation's capital. Stay with us. There's so much more ahead. We'll be right back. Time now for your Tuesday Tweetable. Consider this, especially if you're in a season of trouble and frustration. Your difficult situation is not a permanent position. It is a temporary step to propel you closer to your destiny. In the words of some of the elder members of my family, I am so glad trouble does not last always. So be encouraged and take the time to pass along that encouragement to someone else. Remember, lifting them will help to lift you as well. With that word, make time to make this a terrific Tuesday. And that is going to do it for this edition of CBN NewsWatch. We hope that you will remember that you can find more of our exclusive coverage of the issues that you care most about. And you can find that information at cbnnews.com. We'd love to hear what you think about the stories you've seen here. You can do that on Facebook, Twitter, as well as Instagram. We also hope that you will take the time to join us right here again next time. Make this a terrific Tuesday. We will see you right back here come tomorrow. Bye-bye.